from the Campione Law Studios located in the heart of Duval County, Florida. This is the unofficial Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Your host, Seth Studer. Damn. Season review episode. Damn. Josh Allen. Damn. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12th episode of the unofficial Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. My name is Seth Studer. Before we get too deep in the weeds here, I want to thank Campione Law real quick for putting on this thing throughout the 2025 season. When bad things happen to good people, you didn't get hurt. You didn't ask for it. Please give us a shout. Damn. Ladies and gentlemen, I am coming to you a week after the Jaguars' devastating, keyword devastating, 27-24 loss against the Buffalo Bills, in which the Jaguars, played them neck and neck the whole way. Same amount of first downs. I think we actually outgained them. And Josh Allen, like I warned you all about last episode, why I was scared, because Josh Allen had one of them games, right? And Trevor Lawrence with game, winning drives, two of them in the fourth quarter, not good enough. Comes up short. And it was a devastating loss, right? And that word devastating has going to kind of carried through, especially after seeing what Josh Allen did in Denver with 4 turnovers against the Broncos, right? So, one and done, right? 13-4 season, it's gone. It's over. So, we got a great show for you. We got Connor and Flash the Samurai out of Happy Hour Sports, the Jungle Beat podcast here on to kind of do a post-mortem, keep it, do the positives about, the top 10 reasons why we went from 4-13 to 13-4 in 2025. But right now I want to talk about how probably us as fans are feeling, right? And this is the question I've been asking myself since that loss. Why am I devastated, right? Why am I devastated after a team wildly surpassed my expectations, improving, again, 9 wins to 13-4, winning the AFC South? And there's nothing wrong with a loss to a great quarterback like Josh Allen, right? I should be, thrilled, but I'm not. But why am I so devastated? By any normal standard, this season should look like extreme progress. But it doesn't. And the more I've sat with it, the more I realize, this feeling is not irrational. It's actually pretty straightforward, the reasons why I'm so devastated. And why you're so devastated too. There's really 2 reasons why this loss to the Bills landed the way it did. And the first is opportunity, right? The AFC was wide open this year. And you see it here with Drake May versus Jared Stidham in the AFC Championship game. There wasn't a dominant team blocking the path. No dynasty, right? Like the Chiefs or anyone at the top to make it feel like the road was closed. Everything was open for us. When we were talking about we have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, that this was maybe the best team since 1999, it's true. And so the opportunity is closed, right? And we had a bad draw. And you want to go into hypotheticals. What if we didn't win the division and we played Pittsburgh and, But who cares? It doesn't matter. Point is, we played a Bills team very close, and we brought our B game. Trevor Lawrence didn't play bad. The team didn't play bad, but they brought their B game. And to beat that Bills team who was playing their A game, we had to bring our B plus A minus game. So that's one reason. Reason number one, opportunity. And we're just not going to have a chance this year. And that's not entitlement. That's just reality, right? But there's a second reason why I'm so devastated. And that's the lack of familiarity. What do I mean by that? Well, us Jaguars fans, we've had some strong seasons before, haven't we? And those seasons didn't turn into sustained success. Sustained success. That's what we want as a franchise. 2017, 2022. Years that felt like steps forward at the time, only to be followed by immediate regression. Years where the excitement and the buzz was real, but the foundation wasn't as solid as it felt maybe in those moments. So when the 2025 season, this season, ends short of where you hoped, it naturally kind of brings up those same kind of anxieties, right? Those same fears that we have as Jaguars fans. We're asking ourselves, is this the start of something stable? How can we possibly win 13 games next year? Or, we're thinking in the back of our mind, is this just like, a high point that history will eventually flatten out and will crater? And that question, right, sits beneath the frustration, that devastation I was talking about. And that's why, pride in this team, right? I came on and predicted 11-6, optimistically. Far succeeded that. So I'm proud of this team, but I'm also disappointed in the result. And those two things can exist at the same time. And it's crazy kind of how like your expectations in a team can change throughout 1 year, right? I'm going from just being happy to be in the playoffs to being disappointed that we didn't go all the way. It's almost unfair to the team. But here's where I want to shift things, right? That's the negative. This episode and everything that comes after this part isn't about sitting in that devastation. And it's not about projecting, worst case scenarios or relitigating the Buffalo Bills loss over and over and over again. Trust me, we've done that enough in the last week. Instead, let's take a clear look at what actually happened this season without emotion clouding the evaluation, right? Let's look back and see what changed. Is this the beginning of sustained success? So rather than debating whether this was flash or foundation, we're going to slow it down and examine the season on its own terms. And we're going to rank the top 10 reasons why the Jaguars turned it around. Now, I think after an evaluation of that, I think this season will feel different to you. Not in a hype way, and not as a promise that this is going to be the team going forward, but based on what we actually saw on the field and inside the organization. So while we're licking our wounds, that's okay. But we're not declaring this era finished. But we're also not declaring it guaranteed. And that's okay. It's about being honest about the evidence. I'm a lawyer. It's about being honest about the evidence in front of us, right? And the evidence has shown, in my opinion, that this is the beginning of something special. So sometimes to move forward, you got to take a step back and make sure you understand what you already have in this Jacksonville Jaguars team. So we'll be doing that here in just a second, here with Connor and Flash the Samurai from the Jungle Beat podcast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the unofficial Jacksonville Jaguar podcast. We are not here for a funeral. We are here for a celebration of life, right?
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go.
Yes, sir.
All right, to your left, I got Connor McNally. Welcome to the show. And
Appreciate it,
to my right, I got Flash the Samurai. You can find Connor and Flash at Happy Hour Sports, the Jungle Beat podcast. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Having us, man.
I did, y'all usually start off with some beers, right?
Exactly.
So let's kick it up a notch for
Let's
the end of the
go.
season.
Fireball.
All right,
I'll
here.
take it. I'll take it.
All right,
Let's go. Should have brought a bottle of Casa.
Yeah. We've been all right.
Cheers,
13 and
guys.
4.
Cheers,
There
guys.
you go.
13-4,
13
man.
and 4, baby.
Great season.
Now we've gotten that alcoholic maintenance out of the way.
Fireball is terrible.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Kobe.
Juicy scores.
Ooh, nice.
So, in the first part of the podcast, I was just talking about, just how much this sucks. So,
We had a few days though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel much better than I did on Tuesday. We had a pretty depressing podcast.
100%.
On the
No,
last Jungle Beat
100%.
podcast.
Yeah.
The next few are gonna be a lot more fun, but I feel you.
a little group therapy sessions. Well, let's move.
Exactly.
Let's move past that.
Yeah.
But, so we're going to talk about the top 10 reasons why this team went from 4-13 to 13-4. Does that sound like a fair way to kind of start moving past this?
That sounds celebratory to me.
Yeah, I'm ready
I
for
like
next
it.
year,
I like
so
it.
I think this is a good way to wrap it up.
And Houston lost. So
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
good.
Exactly.
I'm good.
I'm feeling great right now.
I'm feeling great. Houston lost.
That was such a successful hate watch.
It was.
We
I
could
love a
start
good
this
hate
segment
watch.
with CJ Stroud if you want.
We can start it.
I'm ready to have that debate now with all the
Hey,
Texans fans.
Hey, he's part of our 13 wins.
Yeah.
If you don't-
Exactly.
After
Add him to
talking
the list.
so much smack the last week. And then, but the thing is, I can't talk about Davis Mills.
yeah.
No, I would never talk.
Because
I can't talk about it.
Any
19
backup
point
quarterback that plays the Jaguars can really,
Yeah.
we can't really talk about.
Nah.
But your
No.
starters, we're gonna whoop
Your
that
starters,
ass.
yeah, about to say.
Whoop that starter ass.
Like I just remember the Cincinnati game, and I was like, not Jake Browning. No,
Yes,
no, it's still Jake
oh my
Browning.
Sorry,
God.
kryptonite.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, let's move. But before we do that, any one thought you'd like to give the listeners on how you're feeling and where you're at in the kind of the grieving process at this point? Flash, let's start with you. What's
I think
up?
I'm at the acceptance part of the grieving. I went through the anger, the denial, all of that. I went through the drunkard part of it. So I'm really at the acceptance part where, you just got to be grateful that we have a long-term head coach that we all believe in.
Amen to that.
You know.
What about you, Connor?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was depressed for the first couple days after. Then I slowly started coming around. I'm like, okay, we're not in it. A couple playoff games go by. So
Yeah.
I'm honestly on to the offseason. Looking back, and this episode's a great episode for us to kind of talk things through because
Yeah.
Continue that therapy. Group therapy
exactly.
session, right?
But I think now we get a chance to really see, hey, let's see how far we actually came. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We started at 4-13. We had Bulky in the office.
gosh.
We made a lot of changes, which we'll get into. But I think right now I'm just very grateful. I call it the Holy Trinity. We got quarterback, front office, and head coach. You know what I mean? If you get those three, you're 90% of the way there as far as being a contender. So every season going forward, we got a young staff, young team, and we got a ways to go. But I think we're gonna, be a contender going forward.
So, and well put. I mean, just imagine having this podcast last year. It's like, oh, we went 4-13. Just how much of a difference 1 year makes. So let's reflect on that, and I'll have our producer put up number 10. Number 10 is Travis Etienne. This dude, 1,100 rushing yards. 7 touchdowns on the ground. I think 6 or 7 through the air.
He led the team in receiving, and our quarterback in receiving touchdowns.
Right.
Our quarterback led the team in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right. But remember the beginning of the season where it's like, man, is Travis Etienne got to be
Yeah.
on the roster?
Hank Bigsby was a big name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Flash, I'll kick it over to you first on Travis Etienne, kind of looking back. Obviously, we don't know what's next and if this is his last game.
Right.
But tell me about what you saw from him this year.
I was a big ETN guy before our preseason pod. I said that this was going to be ETN's bounce back season. And he proved it. You know, he went out there, ran as hard as I've seen him run in a long time.
Yeah.
The last regime that was here, that 4-13 season, it felt like they gave up on ETN, which I didn't really appreciate because he's still 1,000-yard back when we lean on him. And so once we leaned, and Liam believed it. You know, and everybody in the front office believed it. The offensive line believed it. Trevor believed it. You know, so we leaned on ETN. He's still got 1,000 yards on the ground and still caught so many passes through the air and got so many touchdowns through the air. It's just like, how is he not going to be here next season? In my opinion.
Yeah. What do you?
It's tough. I was a big listen. I was pushing back on the Bashaw Tootin hype train. Now, listen, I've come around on Bashaw. He had a great season as well, and I think it's important to have both backs moving forward.
Agreed.
But I think as far as just Travis by himself, like I'm a huge ETN fan. Like I was defending him big time in the offseason. Talked about it on the preseason show too, how much he means to the team and how much him and Trevor, it's a weird
that Clemson connection.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like usually it's quarterback and wide receiver that really that chemistry matters.
Yeah, right.
But I do feel like having ETN still maybe at least one more season with Trevor, just the comfortability around things and the continuity, because we've seen that there's been a lot of up and downs, a lot of moving pieces since Trevor's been around. So I think I like having ETN, but Flash mentioned it. I think the biggest thing for him was running harder. Like I think you saw this coaching staff really do a great job throughout all of the players, especially the ones in their prove it year, their contract years.
Just so happens to be.
Yeah, but I thought ETN ran really hard. That was my biggest thing for him. He held on to the ball. Fumbling was a big issue with him in the past.
He didn't fumble at all.
He didn't fumble at all.
Yeah.
Just when you needed him, we have a segment called 3 Up, 3 Down every week. He did not miss a stock up every week. He was at least a stock up player. And
stocks only go up, huh?
Yeah. So that was the biggest thing that I took away from him. It's just he's the most consistent weapon we've had this season, and it's been great to see.
Yeah, to put a kind of cap on it, you got to think about. I mean, because the rushing attack kind of started to get found out. And Trevor had to go through the air. But when he did, he would use, ETN. Think about that Jets game where he caught 3 tutties through the air,
Exactly. Yep.
But even before that, during the season, I mean, we went 5-4, and we're going to come back to that. But, man, the reason why we won those games, a lot of it was because of that rushing attack and through a brand-new Travis Etienne Jr. So regardless of whether or not this is his last game in a Jaguars uniform, time will tell. We shall see. But man, you got to give him his flowers. Looking back on it, man.
We'll love to give him his
Awesome
flowers. 100%.
season.
Yeah.
But that kind of actually leads to number 10, kind of dovetails into number 9, which is the offensive line improvement. If you remember this time last year, it was just like, oh my God, like the offensive line was like the one thing that is like that needed to be improved on. And I mean, I will say there's a little sour taste in my mouth because the offensive line, even against like big things like in the Broncos game, they were giving up some pressures, and that's why they're they would be much higher on this list if they were more consistent.
But we wouldn't even have this list if they didn't improve.
That's exactly right.
That's
like,
facts.
And so you got people like Van Lannon, you got Ezra Cleveland, and we'll talk about some of the pieces on there. But as a whole, what do you think about the offensive line improvement and kind of going forward?
Man, I was really impressed with the overall offensive line play, right? I know that there were games where we saw it and was kind of like,
Seattle,
Seattle,
50% pressure rates,
right?
Walk
and then
a little against.
I didn't want to say that. Walk a little against the Bengals. Like it was just there was a lot of times where you wanted to see more. But those we did have those standout players who, like Anton, was very consistent all year.
Absolutely.
Robert Hainsey was very consistent all year.
Unsung hero.
Unsung hero, 100%.
Yeah.
Hainsey, yeah. So I just think that when we're talking about even Walker Little in the run game, Walker Little was really good in the run game this season. It's just his pass protection was just very shaky all season as well. But like I really appreciated and admired the way that those guys played all season.
And I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, we want more, but you got to see how far they came. You know what I mean? And so, Connor, what are your kind of thoughts on the offensive line play this last year?
Well, listen, I'm very thankful that we're not running it into the back of Luke Fortner. Into the back of Luke Fortner every third play. Like, that was my biggest thing for the last handful of years. Obviously, like pass protection with Trevor throwing the ball is a major key, but
100%.
running the ball, that's why like Liam Coen coming in here was such a big thing, is he's going to enforce the run game, you know what I mean? And guys, that's why I have, Robert Hainsey as my unsung hero this year, because he did such a good job at least communicating and leading the team, getting the initial push.
Right.
I think guys like Ezra Cleveland is another one that's probably our best offensive lineman that nobody talks about.
Right, agreed.
And I think he played tremendous all year. You saw the emergence of Cole Van Lanen. You saw, Anton played much better. And really, this again, another guy that this coaching staff really motivated in the offseason, because even I think he was losing some first year reps during training camp.
Yep. They were talking about it,
and you saw him bounce back and basically address the challenge in a positive way. So I think all those things are major keys. And I think it still lacks the top end talent,
Right.
But I do think this year the improvement, raising the floor, like Gladstone likes to say, they definitely did that.
They definitely raised the floor.
Which when you saw, obviously, went a long way.
And, thinking about that, I mean, and again, it kind of looked paper mache at times, and you had, Little go out, and then Van Lanen coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like, improved coaching, what does it do? And you think about Liam Coen in his year with Tampa. I mean, what did he do? I mean, he was able to get Bucky Irvin and Rashad White to just bust out and just raising that floor. We'll see if that can make another jump with another year in the system. So
and obviously, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but Tony Baselli,
Exactly.
the point man to start basically this whole thing.
Our greatest lineman ever.
Greatest Jaguar.
Tony Baselli.
But you obviously know how important it is to him and how much he understands. Like that's been, seeing it from the outside. He's been in the media. Now he's come back into the front office. He knows how important that was. So to improve. So I give him a lot of credit for starting that as well.
And we'll see kind of how they address it, in the draft. Wyatt Milam at a couple. You got some folks with one more year. Let's see if they can move up. From number 9 even higher.
I think Milan probably starts at right guard.
He could.
Wins the right guard position from Makari, who's been up and down this year.
Yeah, he has
sure.
been. Yeah.
So number 8, Mr. Producer, little names, big improvement. So by this, I'm talking about Buster Brown. I'm talking about Antonio Johnson, number 1 graded PFF safety. What?
And not just number 1 on the team, number 1 in the NFL.
I'm thinking of like folks that like outside of Jacksonville, they just never heard about Brenton Strange. Right?
Yeah. Parker Washington.
Jarian Jones. Cole Van Lanen, who we just spoke about. I mean, Brown, Johnson, and Strange, I think really does this group. So I think these little names have just made such a big improvement in the coaching this year, and one of the reasons why we've increased our win total by 9 games.
Yeah.
Right. Who are some folks who were on the roster last year to you that have kind of really jumped out in particular of those?
You kind of nailed it. I think that the difference is the mindset, to be honest with you. I think that when you're talking about the defense, Coach Campanelli, like being just such a physical, branded head coach, he's preaching these guys to go out there and smack something, and that's what they did all season. This is one of the more physical defenses I think that Jacksonville has had all season. Pretty much all franchise.
No, really.
You know what I mean? From the beginning. I think that we, since the 2017 team, we hadn't seen our defense operate with such a...
They've dominated it.
They've dominated at times,
especially in the takeaway
in the takeaway department. Antonio Johnson and Buster Brown both I've seen come up and make big hits, big interceptions, big plays when we needed them the most. And I was just super impressed watching those guys go.
And I mean, Buster Brown, filling in for that when Travis Hunter left, and you had that glaring need when Greg Newsome was playing, but he wasn't the best out there.
Yeah, Seattle.
Antonio Johnson coming in with big snaps, but on the offensive side of the ball, man, Brenton Strange, dude,
physical.
Trevor's. I remember being scared about Evan Ingram leaving. Like, where are all those targets going to go?
We were all scared.
Connor, what did you see out of Brenton this year, man?
Well, Brenton Strange is one of my favorite players on the team. Him and Parker Washington. I think here's the cool thing.
Penn State.
Yeah, I think
That's right.
they were teammates there. Here's the cool thing. I think, everybody kind of initially when Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram left the team,
Right.
were initially hesitant because they said, hey, we got a brand new regime again, new offense, new everything around.
How much
Trevor.
new can there be?
How much
Right?
new can Trevor handle?
Yeah.
And I think guys like Brenton Strange and Parker and guys that were behind professionals like Kirk and Ingram, I had a lot of faith because here's one thing we did see last year. We saw both of those guys that I just mentioned go down, and Brenton Strange and Parker step up and play more meaningful snaps, even though it wasn't a meaningful season.
Yeah.
So what was cool about that is I saw it up close in person. I went to the Jets game when Aaron Rodgers and Devontae
I was
Adams
there
ball.
too. Yeah, I was there too.
Right, yeah.
So, but here,
God,
what
the
I saw,
Renaissance game.
yeah, but what I saw though, I was like, wow, Brenton Strange is a much better player than I remember him being, and he definitely stepped up this year. But I do want to circle back to the guys you had up here. So Buster Brown and Antonio Johnson. 2 months ago, I said Antonio Johnson I want off my team,
Right.
Yeah.
and his development. I know we just got rid of Ron Miles, secondary coach.
The secondary coach.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I thought the development of both Buster Brown and Antonio Johnson,
Insane,
if
really.
I don't know who you got to credit to, maybe it's Coach Camp, but if you watch last season at all, something that we're not talking about is we're 32nd. We're dead last in pass coverage last season. And this year,
I think 12th, 15th, something like that.
which is a huge jump.
Oh, yeah.
20 spots is massive. And those two guys are the main reason, you know what I mean? And I'm sure we'll talk about other guys too later on, free agencies that we got, free agents that we got. But the development, I think Antonio Johnson, number one, and I think Buster Brown is a low key kind of like a must sign going forward.
Yeah, another free agent.
You need some stability with Jarian and Travis next year in the cornerback room.
It kind of put a bow on it. I mean, you see these 5th round picks, these 6th round picks that we've gotten in the bulky administration, and just being able to, whether it's through their own their abilities, or their coaching, and just bring that to a whole nother level. And without those folks, I don't think we get to 13-4.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So gives up to number 7 to piggyback off you.
Yep.
Little names, big free agents. I'm thinking Jordan Lewis,
Yes.
Eric Murray. You got McCarry, Hainsey, and then Denny Gardeck.
Yeah.
One of the barbarian.
Big Gardeck fan over here.
Huge Gardeck.
Dude, yeah. And what stood out to me on this was gone are this last offseason. I'm going, where's the splash signing?
Yeah.
Where's that splash signing? There was that patented Jaguars Julius Thomas signing.
Yeah.
Where's that patented Jaguars? What was it?
Well, that's
DeMarcus, that one dude, Laurent Robinson, a wide receiver from the Cowboys. Like, where's that big splash of that one dude?
That's how I
just
felt about
don't
Jordan
show
Lewis.
up.
That's how I felt about Jordan Lewis in when we signed him. That was my splash.
Flash was
signing.
really
I was
high on.
really
yeah?
high on. Yeah, 100%. I
hell
watched
yeah.
Jordan Lewis the whole because I have friends who are Cowboy fans, and like I'm watching games with them, and Jordan Lewis is making plays left and right. I'm like, damn, if we had a Jordan Lewis, that'd be crazy. And then in the offseason, he literally comes on and is exactly who I wanted him to be, especially in the first half of the season. Sure, he got injured and, he didn't play as much, but when he first came on, man, he was nothing but an impact player.
And
First
his
half of the
absence was felt in the
Yes.
games that he did
100%.
miss.
Yeah,
and
100%.
so I just wanted to give some love and think that's a big reason for our turnaround is those individuals and not taking the huge signing and just going, hey, who are some vets that we can come in, change the culture, and set the tone for 2025? And I think they did that successfully.
100%. And you just touched on it. Probably the biggest thing in here is the culture and the leadership portion. Because even when Jordan Lewis went out, his presence was obviously felt off, on the field because you're missing him. But then you also saw guys like Jarian Jones step up, Buster Brown. I was listening to his exit interview essentially with the media. I think Jordan Lewis behind the scenes was a really big factor of those guys playing well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think he was more of like a coach, like a player coach.
Right.
And I think Eric Murray was really good in the beginning of the season and just pretty good and held down the fort, throughout the rest of the season as well.
Well, if you remember, like they already spoke about like Jarian Jones training with Jordan Lewis in the offseason, like 2 seasons back to back. And for him to actually come over and them actually be teammates, it's easier to buy into the leadership.
Yeah. Those 9-year vets, like the guys who've been around and done it all, and can come in and go, yo, hey, listen, this is what a winning franchise is supposed to be like, and you set that example in training camp, on the field. And I thought that was just huge.
And just to finish it up here too, with Hainsey was another big one. I know we mentioned him earlier, but like Hainsey was that stopgap, and again raising the floor. But Hainsey, his leadership, the ability to kind of control that room because he's a captain. Both of those guys, Jordan Lewis and Hainsey, Robert Hainsey, were both captains.
First year captain.
And are they the best players at their position in the league? No. But their leadership and their veteran presence really, in both rooms, position group rooms, were probably one of the biggest factors they played so well and had that continuity.
Yeah, I was watching, and just to wrap it up, I'm sorry, man. Just like watching Robert Hainsey during the sounds of the game, he's on the sidelines like, yo, we keep running the ball, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. This is a grown man drop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Really just
and he's always
getting the energy up,
And he was in Trevor's ear, too. And right next to him, good play, bad play. He was right there all season, too. I watched him, you know what I mean? So that's a good call out.
And, in Jordan Lewis, Jerry and Jones, I mean, these little name, big improvement, little name, big free agents, much better Nickelbacks than the band. Yeah. So, and that's kind of the role players. So let's move up to number 6. And I got some special folks to shout out. It has to be Devin Lloyd. Devin effing Lloyd showed up and showed out in a contract year. Does he deserve to be paid? Hell yes. Can we afford him? I don't know.
I doubt it.
Right? But I think Devin Lloyd and that improvement, and just to kind of go back to the motif and the theme of improvement over and over and over again, Devin Lloyd, I think, was the only player on PFF to be top 10 in every linebacker category. Wow. Pass rush, coverage, run stuffing, blitz, everything. So, should have been a first-team All-Pro.
Yeah, I don't know how.
It's that Jacksonville tax. But, Connor, let's get to you. I mean, Devin Lloyd, and what did you see from him this year, and why did he, contribute to our success so much, you think?
Nobody loves Devin Lloyd more than I do. Before he even got drafted, I was a massive Devin Lloyd fan. Yeah. And when I found out he was going to Jacksonville, I was through the roof.
He was at Houston, right?
No, we drafted him out of Utah.
Utah. Somebody read. Sorry.
But no, he was awesome. And I thought this year, to answer your question, this is the first year, and I don't think they really did enough, but I think this is the first year he was used the correct way.
Right.
He's an athlete. They blitzed him a lot more. They actually should have blitzed him more and played him more on the edge, I thought, this season.
Yeah. Agreed.
But he did in his first year in 2022 played really well. He had a couple picks. Was an athlete on the field. But I think his improvement this year, a lot of people, it was very similar to ETN. Like him and Devin Lloyd, people were wanting them off the team.
Facts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even, during the preseason show too, I think we were talking, hey, him or Ventrell, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
who should start?
Yeah.
And Devin's come a really long way. He deserves to get paid 100%. I would like him to be with us still. It's a funny conversation too. I don't think we'll come to this, but who's more important, him or Foye in that linebacking room going forward?
Yeah, no, a lot of tough conversations to be had. But I mean, you saw him just in the games that he missed there in kind of the middle of the season, and just how much the Jaguars are missing.
The biggest playmaker on defense this year.
Really was in that. And you saw that kind of just that wild card jack of all trades linebacker being used throughout the season. And I mean, with 5 picks, reading the eyes of Patrick Mahomes, that 99-yard, interception return for a touchdown.
Biggest play of the season.
I mean, and just even that one against, Indy, like, like first offensive play of the game, right?
Daniel Jones.
And just just what a difference maker. I mean, shame we didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but good, hats off to him for balling out.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's running down on special teams. We forget that part of it too.
Still, and making plays on special teams too.
He's an all-pro guy who's running down on special teams. So the attitude of this team, the coaching staff instilled, is great. And I thought Devin had a great year. But yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Flash?
I mean, I was just more impressed with his hands. The way that he was catching like heaters, like they were people throwing like that Daniel Jones one. Yeah. That was a heater that Daniel Jones did. It was a slant route, like
tight end 4 right there. Tight end 4.
So I was super impressed with his hands, man. Like catching interceptions isn't the easiest thing to do, and I know that they're pro athletes, but like when that ball's coming and it's just like, oh, I can make a play here, and you actually make that play, and it gives the whole team life, and it's he played lights out this season, 100%.
Just capital P playmaker, just throughout the board. So that's our first, in a bit, number named defensive guy, and we're gonna go to I think a fan favorite here, number 5, Parker Washington.
Shotwood carry water.
Oh my God, our leading receiver, Parker Washington, coming out. And coming on so strong at the end, where he's your dependable number 1. Yep. We haven't brought up number 7 BTJ yet, and he's not going to show up on this list. But obviously, this dude is just the soul of the team. I thought in the stretch, Flash. Why are you a Parker Washington stan?
I mean, boy, where can I start? And even in the beginning, him on punt return was still super effective, like making plays in the punt. Even though a couple of them got called back, he was still making extremely huge splash plays and then in the back half, just showing up as wide receiver 1. You can't ask for anything more than that. I remember listening to one of the sounds of the game where he returned one of the punts for a touchdown, and he came back to the sideline. He was like, "Yo, don't give up on me." And from then on, he just skyrocketed. Yeah, and then after that, he didn't miss a stock down. No. He didn't miss a stock down at all. I mean, or stock up from us. And it was just like, dog, like Parker Washington came on and literally was the best person that we had seen, besides Jacoby Myers. But go ahead, bro.
No, I think those returns in the early part of the season, especially the one against San Francisco, obviously, just game after game, and then it was just stacking 100-yard game after 100-yard game, and then even in the Bills game, just playing lights out. That catch, that touchdown catch, the touchdown
halftime,
the touchdown catch against Denver to start off that slot fade, and just. You just saw that chemistry of the 6th round gym. I think I saw something. It was like him and like Puka were like drafted in the same zip code. And it obviously one's a little better than the other right now. But Parker Washington has what it takes. And so reflecting on his season and going forward, what do you guys say, Connor?
By far our favorite player on the team. Parker Washington. We just talked about Ingram and Kirk earlier. Like when. I hesitated when we let go of Ingram, but I did not hesitate when we let go of Christian Kirk because I thought this kid was the real deal. Yeah. He got, he's been on special teams, punt returner, but even when Kirk was out, they put him in a little bit. I remember going all the way back to, what was the really first game I saw him pop? I think it was the Bengals Monday night game or whatever that we lost.
When Christian Kirk gets hurt.
And Parker, it's another Christian Kirk.
But even better, he's more explosive. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Parker has had a phenomenal season. I always believed in this kid. He's only getting better. Him and Brenton Strange are the go-to targets, and we got other guys too, but I think those two make the really stir the pot. We talked about it before. He's the sugar in the coffee, so he makes the offense sweet. So Parker Washington's been awesome. I did have another point about him, but I forgot.
Well, kind of going into obviously Parker. Without Travis Hunter going down, I don't think Parker sees as many snaps, and it kind of creates kind of an interesting kind of thing here in the future. So, what do you think this goes next? And this is about respecting the 25 Jaguars as opposed to projecting the 26. Sure. But at the same time, some questions have been raised because of Parker Washington's raise and play.
It does tie into this year though, because if you think about it, when Liam really had Travis Hunter when he started the season in the slot. And I think, obviously, we know, probably one of the best slot receivers in the league right now is Parker Washington. Right. So I thought that was kind of a mistake coming out of the gate, was to have Travis Hunter in the slot and not on the outside. But I understand kind of the philosophy and why they did that. But going forward, you can't move Parker out of there.
No.
So, to answer your question about Travis Hunter and, projecting next season, like,
we'll see.
It'll be a rotation of guys. You know what I mean? I don't think we've seen it this year. Like, the other thing about Parker Washington is we talked in the preseason, like, hey, it's going to be De'Ami Brown, BTJ, and Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in real time before the season started. I said, listen, I got to be honest with you. I want Parker Washington over De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, every day.
And no shade to De'Ami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought Parker was a better player at the time.
He was just more proven at the time as well.
And you saw the coaching staff realize that, implement them. And I like when we were beating belt to ass 19 points a game over folks, by average in that winning streak. I mean, you just saw it, and I was like, shoot, that has a lot to do with number 11.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
So, and that kind of brings us to the other wide receiver here in the mix, someone who we re-signed, and it has to be Jacoby Myers. And it has to be also a little shout out to Zaddy Gladstones, as I call him, for bringing in
Jimmy Stones.
Jimmy
Big Stones.
Jimmy Stones.
Just fourth and a sixth round pick. Just the exact thing that we needed based on the circumstances that we had at the time. Bringing in Myers. I mean, how much could the Bills have used Myers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. How much can other teams have used Myers? And we get him for a
bag of chips.
I mean, getting him. Hey, great job.
And re-signing him, though.
Yeah, right. And then we re-sign him after we realize how much he unlocks. Because from my perspective, you just saw it coincided with Trevor's confidence just going through the roof.
Yeah.
And a dude that wasn't on the roster, didn't know how to play, but and it's hard. Sometimes you want to be like, oh, hey, the reason why Trevor's playing better is because of Jacoby Myers. I think that's part to do with it, but that's not the only thing.
Sure.
But credit to Jacoby, just him being able to work those intermediate routes.
Yep.
Those 10 to 20 yard routes, splash plays, and be able to catch touchdowns for Trevor. You can just kind of tell that he was a skeleton key that unlocked it and was able to get folks who were frankly just out of sorts like BTJ to have a little bit more confidence coming back. So Connor, tell me about what you saw at number 3. Obviously, he's going to be here with the team here for the next couple of years at least.
Yeah.
Just a huge addition.
Yeah.
Criminally underrated. And I think most of the players that he's played against in the NFL will tell you that, how good of a player Jacoby is, right?
Right.
Doesn't get the crazy numbers, doesn't get these big explosive plays, but he's just a pro's pro.
Right.
And that was, you mentioned it before with BT, like, in Trevor, is the number one thing that Jacoby did, kind of like Jordan Lewis, kind of like Robert Hainsey, is that leadership. They were asking a lot of BTJ this season, and I do give him a little bit of a break. Like, he had a rough start, and obviously he slowly got better, but Jacoby helped put everybody in their correct spots.
Right.
Everybody
exactly.
had a role on the team, and you can say maybe, hey, it's too predictable at sometimes, and that's kind of why that last turnover, in the Bills game happened too, because it was
almost too much reliance.
Yeah, so he had our bread and butter play. We didn't have it before him,
right?
And it turned into that deep dig over the middle, reception by Jacoby that allowed BTJ to stretch the field. It allowed Strange and Parker work underneath. So his leadership, one being not having a young receiving core have to rely on anybody else. He came in and improved that and solidified that room. But yeah, I think having the biggest part was clicking everybody else into their correct positions.
Right.
And
have BTJ be that vertical, stretching the field guy. And I will say about Jacoby Myers, just his run blocking too. I mean, that dog. And you remember the Patriots and the Raiders play, and I'm kind of reading it going, shoot, like this could be it. And he was it. Yeah. And so, and Flash, your thoughts about Jacoby kind of on this year, man?
I think
turn it around.
I thought you guys were going to touch on him, but you guys didn't even say the most important thing we even brought him here for was his hands.
Yeah.
He that's
a good point too.
He was not dropping the ball. His magical power is his catching ability. ability. You know, and there were so many times where we're watching him and you're watching the replays and you're like, how did he catch that? Like, you know, and
from the day one,
from day one.
3-day-old Jacoby Myers, making plays, no drops on
easily. And I remember watching there was this one play where he's getting like fouled and everything, and he's not even seeing the ball, but
Houston,
his hands are in the right place to make those catches. And it's just kind of like, yo, this is exactly what Trevor needs, because for the longest, Trevor has led the league in drops.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
His receiving core.
His receiving core has led the league in drop passes.
Yes, James Coen, maybe Trevor, but I think he's past that.
It was one of those things where I'm going, is it because Trevor's throwing it too hard? Like, is it mental?
It was a necessary question, though. It's a necessary question.
And then Gladstone comes in and goes, well, why'd you get, Jacoby? He's like, because he catches the ball.
Right.
And then you see it going. And then you're like, oh, everyone else is catching the ball now, too.
Yeah, it's contagious. Just like drops.
Just like drops. Drops and catches are equally as contagious. We saw BTJ come back and start catching the ball with a lot more confidence on routes that he was not catching the ball on earlier in the season. And then I feel like if all the leadership that we had was BTJ, I don't think Travis Hunter develops as well. I don't think that the people around him develops as well. Because when Parker Washington was still effective, but when Jacoby Myers came on, it was just like now Parker Washington is catching the ball in tough spaces and things like that, through contact, through all of these things. So you watch this and it's just kind of like, dog, like that's the type of leadership that you want to see. Going to catch the ball, doing the dirty work, doing the run blocking, you know what I'm saying, putting people in their right schemes. Now we're as confident as we can.
And to be on the team for 9 weeks, secure a payday.
I was gonna say,
and to be number 4 on the top 10 reasons why we turned around from 4-13 to 13-4. Salute to you, Jacoby Myers.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for your service this year.
How many games did he play before he got signed?
Because right after the Raiders game, so his first game was against the Texans. So
but
that plus the other 8 that we won, so it was 9 games.
But I'm trying to. We can look at it after, but I'm trying to figure out how many games did he play in Jacksonville before he got the extension.
Oh, I think it was probably 3 or 4.
3?
Yeah. It was enough to go, pay that man now.
Yeah.
So
it's like, don't let him go anyway.
No. We need him. Trevor needs him. And so to flip it on the other side of the ball, to kind of, and it was kind of hard to kind of come up with one person for number 3 on the defensive side. So Anthony Campanile.
Yeah.
Just the entire, we were talking about a little earlier about the rankings. This was the 30th ranked defense last year. I think we were like 5th by the end of the year. What an incredible turnaround because of that man. I thought, and I'd like to I've shouted out Devin Lloyd specifically, but just Campanile's way to use the same players and go, okay, it's not Ryan Nielsen. We're not doing hockey style shifts where we're subbing everybody out.
Every other play.
It's like, what are you doing? We're not asking Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker to bulk up, to be like
Eric Armstead,
right? Play him at edge
end and take him inside.
Doing?
Finally, coach of common sense.
Right. So it's almost like, and then just to give some creativity and some less predictability, right? And you can think of those simulated pressures, and because of the defense, I think in that first stretch of games where Trevor and everyone was still kind of trying to figure out the play with, it carried the team.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think they're in a position to go on and be as good as they were without securing those wins early. And I think it's, you got to put your hat off to the guy who helped structure this thing. So as a whole, Campanile, the defense, obviously he's getting head coaching buzz. I think at Ravens, I think wanted to interview him. Miami.
We'll be fortunate if we don't lose him in Udinski. So I agree with you everything you said though. Camp, even in training camp too, I watched him very intense guy, very fiery guy. He's cut from the cloth of, hey, in the dictionary, what does a defensive coordinator look like and sound like? It's Anthony Campanile. So I thought he's been really big.
They speak ass kicking all around the world.
Exactly. Exactly. We all know what it looks like.
Camp's been awesome for us. And the other thing you got to consider too, we talked about the development of all these guys like Buster Brown, Tony Johnson. but putting him in positions too, like Armstead or Devin Lloyd. But I think the biggest thing for Coach Camp too, like we went through a lot of different, or was it 2 different defense coordinators with Doug Peterson?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just wasn't working
Campbell,
out.
right?
Yeah, Nielsen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just it turned around in a big way. I think the takeaways, like, I don't know, they preach it. I don't know how you can't really hang your hat on it for a defense. But they did for the first handful of weeks. So yeah, big shout out to him and the defense.
Well, and they had the turnover number. I think they eclipsed 2024's turnover number, like total, like by week 5.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's that much.
Right, and I didn't know, and I kind of knew that wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
But even when it came back to earth, they were still able to generate those punches and such. Like so, when it dried up. And there's a couple of games where, maybe in the fourth quarter you wanted a little bit more, but how can you not just praise this defense on what they've been able to do? Any thoughts on the defense, Flash?
Man, you guys are nailing it. Coach Camp is just one of those guys. I've been a huge Coach Camp fan since the preseason, and when we brought him on, I would just watch those videos of him just giving those crazy speeches, and you could just tell that this defense took on that identity.
Yeah, sure.
And they were extremely physical. They're punishing everyone. The number 1 rush defense in the NFL. I'm talking about teams who were giving up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, teams who were giving up. They were rushing the ball with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan
Cook.
Taylor,
Cook went off.
or Cook.
Yeah.
Neither one of them did anything against us. So I'm super psyched for his opportunity to be a head coach somewhere, or if he comes back, I would love to have him back.
Sure,
but
you can tell the players, even if Camp leaves, have something to build off
exactly.
of. And
the floor was raised.
And thanks for bringing up that number 1 rush. Not allowing a rusher over 78 yards, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Being number 1 in all metrics against the run, and then seeing that in the wild card game. Josh Allen had to be could not make one of the mistakes. That he had to play a perfect game, and he did. But
he felt it.
He made it hard.
He felt it afterwards.
There might have been some ramifications from that against Denver.
The physicality is really the biggest takeaway, and hopefully they can build on that.
We'll see. And then, number 2, it's got to be number 16.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence.
Big 16.
Just, and kind of like Jacoby Myers in a way. It's incredible that he's so high up in this list from where we saw him. And how we were talking about him before that Houston game, right?
I mean, even after week 9 when we played Chargers, we ran the ball 47 times. Now maybe it's because of the matchup, but nobody was really thinking, "Hey, Trevor Lawrence is going to be in the MVP conversation."
So when the season started, my personal feelings were okay, I would love a winning season, but most importantly, I just want Trevor to show up as a franchise quarterback. And boy, did he ever. Now, you can talk about, he only did it for 8 weeks, but that's such a level of play over, and we've seen it before, but now you've seen it with the coaching. It feels sustainable.
It does.
And you saw with the increased scrambling, you saw it with the crazy ass rollouts to the left.
Oh my
Dirk
God.
Nowitzki 1 foot fadeaway bombs, left, right, and center. And so let's give 16 the flowers he deserves, because he should MVP conversation from where he was at in week 7, 8.
Week 5, really.
What? Right.
I would say this though, even I think Trevor's always had those big play potential, and we've seen flashes for years. And and we were sick of seeing flashes. We wanted to see consistency. And I think even a bigger point is him being the accuracy and the decision making.
Yes.
The little kind of like what you're saying, little names, big free agents, or little names, big improvements. Trevor Lawrence is a big name, little improvements that really, that's why he's number 2 in this list, is because he was able, in the last handful of games, handle his turnovers. So they're limited his takeaways. Also, his accuracy went up a ton. But I think just his playmaking in general, one thing that I've never questioned Trevor Lawrence about is being a closer. Now, I know he threw a pick it was a bad ball against the Bills, but I fully expected us to go down and score
100%.
a touchdown or at least kick a field goal.
100%.
Because I know if you look at his track record, he's a closer.
He's a gamer, man.
He can finish, and I think that's what separates him, and that's what you really want in a franchise quarterback, right? Yeah. The biggest thing for Trevor Lawrence, and we've seen it through Liam Coen, is his confidence.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Trevor Lawrence did not play and really could not play with confidence because of the franchise, the state of the franchise when he came in, and all the shit that's going on, since then.
Offensive line,
receivers dropping the ball. It's like there's so many coaching. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So I think this year, Liam Cohen's best coaching job was Trevor Lawrence. And he fixed things mechanically for him to start the season, things like that.
Start with your left foot
but
back,
the mental part for Trevor Lawrence has always been the biggest issue.
Agreed.
And Flash probably hates when I say it because I've said it so many times now. But I compared him to Joe Burrow. I think Trevor Lawrence has more pure talent than Joe Burrow does. But Joe Burrow killed him mentally. He had like that Kobe mindset, and also just the understanding of the game and decision making. I thought that's where he dwarfed, Trevor Lawrence's game. But now that you're seeing the talent meet the experience and the confidence, like Trevor Lawrence to start next season, he has to be in MVP running to start 100%. The season. I mean, because I think he's gonna ball.
That $55 million. I mean, he's playing up to that. I mean, and it's crazy that. I mean, obviously you have that. It takes time to learn a playbook, right? It takes time to learn
playbook too. That's right. That's why it was a slow start,
right? And that's what I was giving.
And it's a complicated offense.
Yeah, gotta give him a little grace on that. Yeah. And once it clicked, and you just saw all aspects of his game. And I agree with you. Just like the talent is so up there. I don't think this is. It's not a Flash.
No. So
Mr. Flash.
It's not me at all.
Mr. Flash, what were some thoughts on Trevor Lawrence on this last year and then kind of projecting forward?
I was super impressed with him this year. I think after that Arizona game, I called my friends. I was like, I want him dead. It was just, after that, like I just.
Because it's still the Trevor Lawrence experience.
It is still the Trevor Lawrence.
It was baked into it.
Yeah, 100%. But then
4 turnovers, but still win it.
Yeah. But then he hears "Let It Rip," and man, he ever. Mm-hmm. I think that some of these plays that you see him make in terms of running the ball, even the run against the Jets, when he runs the ball from like the 25 all the way, like that was insane. We're just watching and you're just like, yo, this is the decision making of a $55 million quarterback.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. We watch these things and we watch these people catch the ball now. So where his accuracy isn't in question as much. And then I feel like a lot of times we were like, hey, he's missing his layups. We're trying to hit the big throws.
Right.
Over the course of the last half of that season, you saw him hit those layups that, he would miss. You saw him.
Those dig rats we were talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You saw him
just checking down the running backs.
He was in the right place.
There's been plenty of times this year where he, or in the beginning, but also throughout his career, where he missed some easy wide open
missed the
check downs.
Stuff.
And you're like, he just hit a guy 50 yards on the run, like on the sideline. And you're like, only 1%, only 1% of the NFL can make that throw. Yeah. Quarterbacks in the NFL can make that throw.
For every throw,
but
brother?
99 can make the play that you can't.
He's the 1% who misses the 99%, bro. And it's just kind of like, dude, it would drive me insane.
Yeah, it was wild.
And so watching him actually mature into a player who's taking his time, who has the offensive line that he believes in. When the pieces are there, he's able to take his time, go through his progressions the way that he wants to. And I think it's super important to watch how he does that when you have someone like Cole Van Lannon on his side. And I know we talked about these guys already, but when it's different, you can tell it's different.
Yeah.
And his clock is sped up and he's, makes those mental mistakes that we don't like for him to make. But when the pieces are around him doing what they need to do, he makes the plays necessary to win a game.
That confidence it just makes me think that it's here to stay because. Agreed. And you saw, I mean,
it's infectious with the grill. Like,
I know, right?
Trevor Lawrence is going to be doing that.
Right,
you know what
the
I mean?
CZ Trev memes, like all this kind of such, and and we're talking about the question: does he have that dog in him? You gotta think about it, like that Kansas City game coming back the way he did, right? When he wasn't at his most confident, that Arizona game bouncing back from 4 turnovers to win that thing.
Even Vegas didn't.
Vegas
wasn't
that was another one.
I mean, in the classic Jaguars, how did you choke this away kind of thing? Like against like Indianapolis when we were at Indy.
Yeah.
I never felt I started finally to feel like, okay, we got this. Just give him some time.
Yeah.
He's going to make the plays. We're going to score, and we're going to win. And then against Buffalo, 2 go-ahead touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Only person to do that in the loss was Josh Allen in that 13 seconds game and Drew Brees in some game, I think, in 2015. Talk about having that dog in him. I think he does, and he's here to stay, and thank God. Thank God.
I think it finally ends the conversation.
Yes.
Now, I think when you talk about Trevor Lawrence's, Trevor Lawrence going forward in his performance, it's less about like the weapons. I think the weapons are proven now. We have plenty. You know what I mean? We probably have one of the best receiving corps, when you go to add up all the positions in the AFC at least.
Top to bottom, yeah.
But the offensive line is still going to be the question where for any quarterback in the NFL, if that's not solid, the quarterback's not going to play well. So it's still up in the air. Like I still would like them to add a little bit more, maybe through the offseason, through draft or free agency somehow. But
get Walker Little off of my team. Get him off of my team.
Yeah,
Trevor's
consistent, and we don't have to worry about the Trevor Stroud or Trevor franchise quarterback debate anymore. You know what I mean?
That's the bow I want to put on this. Okay, is can we fucking stop moving the goalposts on Trevor Lawrence?
Yes.
Right? As a national media, right? You see Josh Allen, turn it over 4 times here yesterday. You see C.J. Stroud have that late-term abortion of a game against just terrible quarterback. And just excuses coming out the wazoo. But when Trevor throws one pick, bad throw, the dogs are out. Well, and so finally, can we stop moving the goalposts on this dude?
Here's the issue, and I forgot to say this again, another staple of the Jungle Beat podcast, me repeating myself on this, but the expectation of Trevor Lawrence was the number one thing that's killed him since he came into the NFL.
Agreed.
And we have to be careful in Jacksonville specifically with Travis Hunter. Right. It's the same thing. These generational talents, you've labeled them this. So if they're not,
he didn't label himself that, right?
No. It was everybody else.
But if it's not a Pro Bowl, an All Pro every single year, you're going to be like, well, that's not generational. Exactly. So that's the biggest hurdle he had to overcome over all these other obstacles he had to.
No kidding, drops and
all the other stuff within the organization and his own game he had to overcome. But the expectation of Trevor Lawrence and the expectation of Travis Hunter going forward is these generational talents have to hit, and that's why you see the goalposts getting moved. That's why you see that's why you see them being more critical of him than any other quarterback in the NFL. So it's nice to see that. Trevor, I forget who said it. I think ETN said it actually recently. He's like, Trevor just needs to stop worrying about everybody else and let his nuts hang.
That's right.
Because if he can just get there mentally and stay there mentally, he's a top 5 quarterback. You know what I mean? It
really is. And so Trevor, man. Thank you. Salute to all
Great
that you
season,
did this year, man.
Salute, brother.
Thank you for putting it all together. And so it leads to number 1. It's no surprise. No. It is. Go ahead. Shad Khan firing Trent Baalke / Liam Coen. It's crazy, that butterfly effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Liam Coen interviews, and we like to almost memory hold this. He interviews, he says, thanks, but no thanks.
Yep, right.
A day or two later, signs an agreement to be the highest paid OC. And then Shad Khan's in a pickle. He's like, what do I do?
Ben Johnson doesn't want to be here.
Ben Johnson didn't even take the interview.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I got to do it. And he fires Baalke.
Yep.
Cohen's hired, and the rest is history. Yeah. And so Liam Coen, obviously you're number 1. He could be the entire list, right? 1 through 10.
I was telling you before the podcast, he was my 1, 2, and 3. So before we started, I think Liam Coen, I saw him at Strings the other night.
Oh,
too.
yeah?
Well, they did like a Jags All Access thing. Yeah. And just like the best. You can't ask for it. We lucked into Liam Coen.
Yeah.
We wanted Ben Johnson. I think everybody collectively
definitly
wanted Ben Johnson. And he's had a great year too.
Yeah, excellent coach.
But Liam Coen, this team as a whole wanted to run through the wall for this guy.
Yeah.
And on top of what he does, like schematically, like super smart offensive coach, obviously, and play caller, you don't have to worry about it. He's going to be tied with Trevor, hopefully for the next like 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you got that checked off. But the biggest question I had for Liam Coen going into the season was, okay, cool. How many offensive coordinators have gotten jobs based on their play calling and what they can do offensively, but can't be that CEO, that leader of men, manage guys' emotions. Like Liam Cohen's, that's probably the best part of his coaching.
Yeah.
So I
as soon as he bowed up to Salah, I was like, oh boy, we got a
dog.
we got a psychopath here.
Yeah.
And you need that psychopath kind of coach sometimes.
that competitive edge, and he's talked about it every single time. That he could this season. That, hey, what's your edge? What he means by that is like, what's your motivation? What can you always tap into? Hey, Trevor, people have been telling you suck and you're generational talent, whatever it was. Like he tapped into something with him, but also with the rest of the team individually, each to a player where these guys were playing. That's why you see ETN running his heart out. That's why you see these guys blocking better. That's why you see Devin Lloyd flying all over the field. It's like, that's Liam Coen.
Yeah.
Right. What buttons can you push in the right order? And you're right about the kind of the offensive whiz kid kind of stereotype. And it's like, hey, is that going to translate?
Yeah.
And holy shit, it did.
Yeah, 100%.
Holy shit, it did.
No, I agree. I agree with both of what you guys are saying. I think that when we're talking about, because our number 2 was Trevor Lawrence, you want to talk about the attitude and the dog mentality that Trevor Lawrence got. Who put that there? We watched him from screaming to hit a receiver in the chest from the sideline to like now, like when Trevor made that one throw to Tim Patrick on the sideline, you see Liam Coen pushing him like, dude, you're fucking insane. Like, you're watching these things and you're just watching this development of this relationship. And like, as like, Liam is raising Trevor's like mental and you know what I'm saying? Trevor's
field.
like leveling him out, you know what I'm saying? And they're meeting like right in that middle and it's very special. It's a sweet spot that if we stay there, we got Trevor pregame talking about like, we heard they were good defense. Well, we don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in the middle of the game, the against Tennessee, you heard Trevor.
Say we're gonna score on your ass again. We're gonna score on your ass 40. We're gonna do it again.
It's like you would never hear that come from Trevor.
Exactly. And so like I feel like Liam is literally raising his attitude and his like
competitiveness.
Competitive edge, man. You want to talk about competitive edge? How about going 1-0 every single week?
Right.
Liam preached that. Like that back, well, I'm sure he did it every game, but that back half of the season, it became super important because we knew we couldn't lose a game.
Right.
If we lose a game, we give up the
division.
The division. You see that?
Yeah.
You give up the division. Yeah, man. You give up the division if you lose a game. So go 1-0 every week and continue to put belt to ass, man. And I think that was a great hire.
And obviously you got the X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes, and we see that he brought that edge to everything, but just also from an X's and O's standpoint.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
He's a genius.
The mid-game adjustments, you can tell he's got an ego. You can tell that he thinks that he's a really great coach. And you just saw that confidence from him.
Yeah.
Just as a first-year head coach to do what he did, I think compared – the way that they were dominating teams in that stretch, I think without the Jacksonville tax, he's coach of the year.
Listen, I know Ben Johnson just lost last night. But
also phenomenal job.
But Ben Johnson also has a case for the same exact statement I'm about to make. But Liam Coen changed the culture of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have to think of what this franchise has been. Periodically we've had some flashes of really good teams. But mostly, when you look at the big picture of the last 30 years, we're basically the laughing stock of the NFL.
Yeah, for real.
So for him to come in his first season and say, "Oh, we're the laughing," you're not laughing at this team,
right?
Anybody that I'm a part of, we're gonna come. That's why we talked about being physical and playing with an edge. Like these guys came hungry all year, and that stemmed from Liam Coen, and that's not going away. You know what I mean? I know we're going to get plenty of other guys in contract years that are probably going to play well too.
Sure.
But I think as a culture and really change the city. And I think that's what even bigger picture, Jacksonville as a city, like we need to think, hey, we're a good city. We're people are moving here for a reason.
Yep.
We're growing. We got things going for us. We have a small market complex. You know what I mean? That Liam Coen
tapped into.
That's why the fan base. Think about it this way. That's why the fan base tapped into that whole whole small market.
All the angst and personal anxieties.
Yeah, everybody's like, no, we're Jacksonville. We are the place to be. We are the,
Why not us?
A popular franchise that are going to be a dominant franchise. Like, we're going to go in this direction. We're the bold city. Let's be bold. You know what I mean?
Yep. And so Liam, it's just far and away number one. I think unanimous. And you finally got the coach. Yeah. You finally, after Urban Meyer, after Doug Peterson goes, hey, I'm going to, just subcontract this out to Press Taylor and kick my feet up.
Jeez.
And so, obviously, number one. And it's just going to be great to see what goes forth, in 2026, 2027, and hopefully a long and prosperous future here in Jacksonville.
Can we give them a round of applause?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job,
great season,
guys.
boys.
Great season.
Good
fellas.
work, guys.
Great season. Great season.
13-4, brother. So you see the list. 10-1. Is there any honorable mentions, like one of each that y'all want to shout out?
Sure. I think my first one would be home field advantage.
Yeah.
I think that this season that the fans showed out. I went to every home game this season that was played in Everbank, and anytime I went there, man, it was incredible to see the fans show up and show out, get loud, get quiet, do all the necessary things. We watched Cam Little hit a bomb of a kick. We watched so many different great things that happened in that stadium today. The only ones were the Bills and the Seahawks that really stung from the stadium. And
the crowd was always in it.
Wow, we were always in it, man. It
was
not
cool to see.
Yeah, it did not waver. Even when it looked bad, we were still there. So it was an incredible atmosphere to be in.
They played much better at home.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
What's your kind of honorable mention here?
I mean, we banged out a lot of them. I would say this, and I was going to say this even though it's your number one, but it's more directly. I think Shad Khan is the honorable mention. This guy's invested a lot into the city and also to the Jaguars, and I think for him to finally get a good product on the field and not just be teased by one, I think going forward we do have a contender, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the things he's doing around Jacksonville and what he's doing for the team. So I'm excited for Shad Khan. I think that's an honorable mention because you had it at the top of the list. We don't get anywhere any of these things. We don't get any of these things.
None of this happens
if he doesn't have the self-awareness to say, I'm not a football guy. But everybody in the league is saying
telling me to fire
Trent Baalke.
Yeah.
And I'm a loyal guy. I'm trying to stay behind him.
Yeah.
But you know what?
He did though.
I'm gonna make the decision. Liam Coen, I'm gonna hire Tony Baselli, which again, maybe Shad and Baselli are number one because that was the genesis of all of this.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
So I think those two deserve a massive props for at least just getting the ball rolling in the right direction.
Agreed.
Shad making that decision to hire Tony, and then Tony being able to see it from the very beginning to where we are today, where this franchise is and what we need. I think that's the missing link, I guess, on the list.
Part of that holy trinity there, especially up front. So, guys. This hopefully it's been a nice continuation of that group therapy session. I'm feeling better already.
Perfect.
100%.
Connor, Flash, you can find them Happy Hour Sports. Man, boys, thank you all for coming on.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having us.
It's a good time. A lot of fun.
All right, we'll be back in just a minute for the Claws of History. Thanks,
Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unofficial Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Again, special thanks to Connor and Flash for showing up here today. That was fun. Well, this is kind of my last episode here for the season, and we might do one or two episodes here in the off season, but we're going to take a little break. But before we go any further, I'd like to thank Campion Law one last time for putting this podcast on and helping put this thing to life. It's been a lot of fun, and again, you got a lot of folks to choose from when bad things happen to you. If you're injured and you didn't ask for it, keep us in mind. We'd be happy to help you out. All right. So, the final segment of the Claws of History, where we reach back into the past to figure out what we can do and what the Jaguars might be going forward. This is a special one because we're going to take in the entire 2025 season. So for this episode, Claws of History takes us to Rome, Italy, at the height of the Renaissance in the year 1508, where there was a gentleman named Michelangelo, not the turtle, he wasn't a teenager, he wasn't a mutant, He wasn't a ninja. But at that time, he was a sculptor. You know, there's a popular delusion about greatness. Greatness, right? We like to think that it arrives like a lightning bolt, right? We don't want, we want the overnight success, right? We want the miracles. And this season's kind of felt like that. But history doesn't work that way. History's heavy. It's physical. In the real world, greatness arrives with what? With labor, with hard work. You know, you have to put the work in to be great. So, and you have to put the work in that once begun, it can't be abandoned without the world judging you for the attempt. And the Pope, back in 1508, commissioned Michelangelo to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And that's what the 2025 Jaguars were to me. Michelangelo didn't want to paint the Sistine Chapel, just like Liam Coen initially did not want to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Michelangelo didn't want the job. He told the Pope. Michelangelo was a sculptor, not a painter. He understood stone, right? Weight, precision. Painting the ceiling, that was something completely new. It was messy, unforgiving, kind of outside his strike zone, outside his craft. You know, the commission given by the Pope was not a compliment. It was, you know, something he felt, Michelangelo at the time, to expose him to his rivals like Raphael and Leonardo da Vinci. Expose Michelangelo to a stage too large for him to hide from. But Michelangelo took that opportunity and made the most of it. Liam Coen took the opportunity this year and made the most of it. Liam Coen inherited a quarterback who had kind of become this national Rorschach test, right? He inherited a roster with the word potential, right, hanging around on its neck, right? He inherited, you know, an organization that was mired in failure. And Liam Coen had to build a system that did not only rely on Trevor Lawrence being a hero, but one where Lawrence's heroism emerged as a byproduct of the structure around him. And Coen has animated Trevor Lawrence just like Michelangelo animated the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. So let's talk about a little math of the 2025 season, because math survives vibes, right? It survives aura. The Sistine Chapel ceiling was not painted as decoration. It was painted as the book of Genesis in the Bible. Creation, order. And that's the correct lens for this Jaguars team, right? Creation, order. In 1 year, the Jaguars became a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. They went from 30th in defense to 5th in 1 year, in one coordinated leap by the players, the coaching staff, the front office, everybody. That doesn't happen because of momentum. It doesn't happen because the players just want it more. That's composition. That's coaching. It's the same team pretty much as 2024. And we saw a defense stop, guessing and start dictating on the field, hitting. We saw an offense over time, right? Where the routes, protections, and checkdowns has as brushstrokes on the image, right? Painting a really beautiful picture of points during that 8-game winning stretch. And for the first time, the pieces in Jacksonville supported one another. We were playing complementary football instead of compensating for failure. This was not a hot streak. This was the early shape of a masterpiece, like Michelangelo painted on the ceiling. It was the moment, and this year is a moment, where the league realized that Jacksonville was not merely dangerous, right? They were coherent. And it looks like the sustained success that we fans have been dreaming for decades, since the Clinton administration, right? 96, 97, 98, 99. Back-to-back playoffs. That feels like a very real possibility. But Genesis, right, and the painting of Genesis for Michelangelo doesn't start clean. Michelangelo painted from scaffolding that blocked his view of the floor. 4 years, he tilted his head back, paint dripping in his eyes, his spine bending underneath the weight. He couldn't even see the finished work. He just had to trust it. The Jaguars hit that same wall, right? 5-4 start. Uneven October, right? Losses against Seattle and the Rams. And a blown 19-point fourth quarter lead to the Texans. This wasn't given to them. This is not the Charmin soft schedule that the Patriots had. Right? There were weeks here where the structure existed, but the clarity of the entire painting had not yet arrived. And predictably, about that same time, the vultures came out, the haters. People were doubting Trevor Lawrence, not quietly, right? Not patiently. He's been here. This is his 5th year in the league. Folks wanted conclusions on Trevor Lawrence before the season ended and before the plaster dried. They looked at the scaffolding and called it a mess before they could actually see the full ceiling. And this is where most projects collapse, right? Something as large as this undertaking that Michelangelo did. But this is where the best teams execute, right? They don't panic. They don't appease the noise. Michelangelo did not panic. He just executed his vision, just like Liam Coen executed his this year. The Jaguars stayed on the scaffold and went on an 8-game winning streak to go 13-4. So in the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo painted the book of Genesis, right? It unfolds panel by panel along the ceiling. Light separated from darkness. Order where there was disorder before. And then we rattle off 8 straight wins, right? Jacksonville stopped reacting, started playing its brand of ball, and started imposing reality, started imposing its brand of ball. And then came the loss of the Bills, right? It ended as quickly as it came. And people want to call it a tragedy, right? I think it's something more, honestly, different than that. It's not a tragedy. This was a transformation. This was a transformation achieved with the same roster that went 14-3. Not rebuilt, not replaced, just reordered and coached. And obviously 2025 isn't the end. The Sistine Chapel was not the end of Michelangelo's career. But it was the beginning of expectations. And that's what the Jaguars need to understand. Once the ceiling was revealed, Michelangelo was no longer allowed to simply be promising. He was the standard. He set the standard for himself, right? 13-4 is not a trophy. It is a measurement, though. And this work, right? This masterpiece doesn't crown our team, right? But it defines the room where they now live in. Next year is not about simply doing it again. It's a new team. It's about judgment and about whether 2025 was the truth or a mirage. You know, funny thing, Michelangelo would actually return to that same chapel, the Sistine Chapel, and paint the barren wall behind the altar. And he would paint something called the Last Judgment. Right? Can the Jaguars do that in 2026, 2027, 2028? That question now follows them everywhere, as long as Liam Coen's the coach. Because 2025 was Genesis. The scaffolding is gone. The league is looking up and seeing what they accomplished. They're no longer debating whether or not the Jaguars are real. Instead, they are deciding on how they'll be judged beneath the ceiling they just finished. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for me. Remember, buy UM, uninsured motorist coverage. Jackasses be driving around with bad coverage all the time. Cause accidents too. If they hurt you and it's not your fault, what's going to protect you? Make sure to get uninsured motorist coverage. Again, special thanks to Connor and Flash for coming out. Special thanks to Campion Law again for putting this thing on. What a season. You know, this is Seth Studer signing off. Hope to see y'all here in the near future. Take care.